Mom Who Knows Nada. My name is Brianna, and this is the Mama Knows Nada podcast. Today we have mi fallera favorita. She is going to tell us all about her life as a true Valencian and a lot about my favorite festival, Las Fallas. So, Celia, thank you so much for being here. You know I'm very excited to have this conversation. I've been thrilled about this. So, I'm going to launch right into it. Tell us about yourself. What did you like about growing up in the best city in the world?
Well, for me, growing up here, it's just like a given. My family is all from here. Well, not technically. My mom's side of the family are not from Valencia per se. So they came here by mere chance. They're from the north of Spain. So I had the opportunity to see Valencia, not only like as a true Valencian, but like also from the eyes of somebody who was not from the city. So it's like north of Spain, there's a lot of cultural things that, even though Spain's not too big, there's a lot of cultural differences north and south of Spain. So it was great. Yeah, I've been here my whole life. I moved out of my parents' house and I'm still living in the same neighborhood as them. So it is great.
I mean, that must be a testament to not only like how much you like your parents, but also how much you like your neighborhood. I don't know.
Yes. Well, now you're getting to see my neighborhood now because
I know
our dancing academy moved over here. So
yeah, but it's a nice neighborhood. Can you like just share maybe like one or two cultural differences from the north or south, just to give people an idea of how different the country is?
So, for example, in the north of Spain, there's a tradition a lot about gathering. Also, like Spanish people, we love to gather. And we love to gather around like food and like share stories. I feel like in the north of Spain it's a lot more about like talking about the past and like sharing common stories. However, in the south it's a bit more just having fun. It's a lot more with the friends than a bit less with the family. At least from what I've experienced. I'm not talking about every single Spaniard here because Spain is different. And like even in the same city, traditions from house to house are different. For example, there's a lot of traditions in the terms of like eating food. Food-wise, it's very different in the north from the middle of Spain. Middle of Spain, especially Valencia, a lot of the food is based on rice. When you're having a family meal, it's gonna be some sort of dish, even like a paella or like a seafood paella or like a oven rice, which is my personal favorite. The north of Spain doesn't have that, so there's a lot of like spoon type of foods. That will go as like a lot warmer, a lot thicker, that kind of style.
Because it's colder up there than it is down here. Well, although recently, what is happening?
Climate change.
Looking at, yeah, exactly. Different topic, different day. What was the best part of growing up for you in Valencia?
I loved the size of the city. Because even though it's big enough so it doesn't feel like crowded, still like the neighborhoods are very much like small towns. So I could be walking around my neighborhood and I could be saying hello to a lot of people that I grew up with, or they went to my school, or I went to church with, or they're in the same falla as me. So it's like a lot of interconnections with the same neighborhood. I'm also part of another Valencian festival called Moros y Cristianos, and also a lot of people that I know are very close together. It's always the same people who like to party, and we like to make a celebration out of everything. So we're all gathered together.
That's so true. You know, that's one thing I've noticed about living here is how each little section of the city is its own like little entity. And you can like especially like in Campanar, if you just go in that little area. Yeah, I think it was like walled or like its own little, but you can see that it was its own little entity with the church and the plaza and the butcher shop and you know, and you can see that throughout the city. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah,
how each neighborhood had their like common things.
I like that you're talking about Campanar because the funny thing, and not a lot of people know about, Campanar was actually its own independent town. That because the city grew, then it kind of like took over Campanar, but it was its own independent thing. That's why it has such a different vibe from any other part of Valencia.
Well, look at that. I'm learning things I didn't know. How about that? That's amazing. I guess you can kind of see it. But equally, too, there's that, in that vein that you can definitely see how each neighborhood, I guess Campanar is really special, though. But each neighborhood does have its, like, little vibe and yeah. I mean, you can say that about any city, but I think it's very, like, specific in Valencia, too, from my experience, anyway.
Yeah.
Was there anything you didn't like about growing up in the best city in the world?
mean, it is the same thing as I loved. It's like, because everybody knows you. You cannot say, oh, I'm liking this person, and like you try to be flirty, or like you try to go on a date. Then you
Everybody
know
knows.
that at some point it's gonna get to your parents without you telling them.
Everybody knows everything about everybody.
And especially my dad in particular is a very chatty and like very people person. So he makes conversation with absolutely anybody.
What are cultural, more like, so we talked about rice, paella, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, originated in Valencia. It's a really big part of the culture here. Agriculture as well, a huge crop in the region. What other general cultural things identify Valencia versus other cities and regions of Spain?
I feel like Valencia is a very welcoming city. We have been, ever since Valencia was a city itself, it has been a port city. So that has affected that lots of cultures have come through the city. Lots of cultures have gone and left their mark in the city. So I feel like it is not as big or like crowded as Madrid or Barcelona would be, which would be the equivalent in Spain. But I think like we're much more open than, for example, Madrid, which because of the situation geologically is gonna make it a lot more harder to get there traditionally. Now with plane and with trains it's a lot easier, but I think that's also part of like the identity of a place. It's like how open you are to foreign people coming to visit.
Do you think that that's just
trade came through here? Just like silk trade enter Europe through Spain, through Valencia in particular.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to ask that. I was like, what do you think that's like? But I think that's a really good thing to highlight too, is Valencia has been like literally a port of call for like 1,000 years. And it was and still is a huge like trade entity. And so many things have come from here, like Valencia oranges. Like everybody knows a Valencian orange, no matter where you are in the world, like a Florida orange, because I love Florida too.
Yes.
So I think that's super, super cool to highlight as well. Like there's certain things that we forget or don't realize, you know, were super important at the time. So Valencia has gone through lots of changes over the centuries. But most recently, there's been a huge influx of expat and digital nomad tourists, etc. How has this impacted the city in your experience?
I think it has made it advance a lot, like culturally, partly, but it's also about infrastructures wise. There's a lot more money being built into like public transport, for example. That these people, that people who come here, I mean, you can tell a lot of people either don't have a license or their license doesn't transfer over here. And it is a bit of a hassle, especially if you don't have a place to park your car, to like go through that process again. So in order to make it more friendly towards foreign people, there's been extra money coming into infrastructure for them. And also, it is great now you can go into the supermarket, you can hear all these different voices. Before, like, you were the odd one out if you were speaking Valenciano, which is the language that we speak here. It's our own particular language. It was the odd person. Now, people are much more confident because other people are speaking other languages to speak their own. Speak Valenciano, for a long time, it was considered something that was not. It was seen as like lower class of sorts.
Interesting.
It was like less educated, because the people who would talk in Valenciano normally were from smaller towns, and there's a cultural bias, like smaller towns are less cultured than city people, which I do not agree with, but that is what it is. So I feel like thanks to the expats, people are starting to be more comfortable with their own personal identity. So that's one thing that you guys brought in here. The flip side is the city has become a lot more crowded. Now you want to go around walking during like a Christmas market or like summer, and you can't. There's too many people on the street. Well, the center, I'd say. You go, for example, my neighborhood is quite a calm one. We can see like the odd tourist one because we're like quite close to the center, but we're not that touristy. But it is become very crowded.
Yeah, I would agree with all of those things. I just want to go back to the Valenciano thing, because first of all, I think, wasn't it outlawed to speak Valencian for a long time under the Franco?
Yep.
Then they try to eradicate the language. Okay, just a minute, make sure. So I think that's super cool that the language has persevered through that dictatorship. First of all, like, kudos to you, Valencia. I love it. I love it too that regardless of where you are in school, you have to learn Valencian. So like my son hates Fridays because Fridays is Valencian day, and he has to spend like an hour or two learning Valencian, which I did some research on this before, but like Valencian, I like to say it's like because it's its own entity, so you can't compare it to anything. So let me just preface this next statement with that. But it does have like components of like French and Portuguese.
Yes.
So I think it's so cool that it kind of is like this hybrid language, if you will. Again, we're just going to try to make it accessible to people who don't know it.
I would add also a bit of Italian into the mix.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't want to throw too much at it.
The same root, like it's very based on the same language that grew up from like an area and then just kind of like expanded down, yeah. But I think it's such a great thing to maintain for many reasons. One, it gives like the cultural identity of the region specifically, but two, it is such a good foundation for children to have this access, because if they learn Portuguese or Italian or French down the line, they have this basis, and you're automatically in school learning, Castellano and Valenciano, and boom. And so I don't know, I think it's awesome. But the crowded thing, this is one of the things that comes up all the time. Ooh, and the infrastructure. I love Valencia's infrastructure in terms of, now there's definitely gaps, like for me personally, because I prefer the metro and I can't get all the places I want to get to easily on the metro, just based on where I live. However, the bus routes, the metro, the tram, the bike lanes, there's like near like 2,000 meters of bike lanes in Valencia. Everywhere.
It's incredible, and it does make it really accessible for someone like me who does not want to go back to driving school and get their license, because that's annoying.
And it's also great about, you're talking about the bike lane, was a few years ago there was a big problem with Valencian people that did not want that bike lane. Because that meant that less cars could walk at the same time. So the bike lane is taking space from the cars. However, it is easier to move around with a bike in certain parts of the city.
It is. I can attest to that. But Valencia also has a huge sustainable agenda built into so much of their policy, especially tourism policy, and they base so many decisions off of that. Again, so much research on this. So much freaking research on this in my brain. So it makes me like, I can talk about it. But the overcrowdedness, how do you think that is influencing the locals and the long-term residents, their mentality, like the true Valencians?
Some parts of the city, especially the parts where most tourists or like expats go and tend to live, are like areas like El Carmen or those areas over there.
Ruzafa.
And Ruzafa. Those ones, what people are seeing, like locals, they feel like they might be pushed out of their zones because the neighborhood itself has changed to adapt to those people who are coming from abroad. So then some places are putting people from abroad above the locals. So that's what some people are not that excited about welcoming foreigners, just because of that, because of the mindset of then they're gonna kick me out of my house, but they're gonna make my housing less affordable because there's more people trying to get to the same places. And according to one thing are the people who come to live here.
Yeah.
We're very excited about that. We love sharing the city with you. But the tourism has come with a big problem about rental houses. Rental apartments have made that people like myself are struggling to find housing at a decent price. For a lot of people, it's more affordable to turn their place into I don't want to say the name, but like a rental place. I don't want to say any brands because we all know which brands I'm talking about. But all those rental places make it that places that were before, that were like a shop or like a land place that you could have your house there, now it's more affordable for them to have it as a rental. So that makes that if you want to find an apartment right now that you want to rent and you don't want to be sharing a flat with 5 people, you have to pay about €1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And
that
you don't get that much money. We don't get paid that much here.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point to like the salary. People are like, oh, €1,000 isn't that much, depending on where you're from, like compared to like Switzerland, right? But when the salary doesn't match, it makes it harder. And then you look, there's certain people I know, and their 3-bedroom apartment in the city center is like €1,000. 3-bedroom apartment in the city center in El Carmen. Well, like mine is more than that, and I'm a 2-bedroom apartment outside the city center. And they're like targeting people. On certain to and then the down payments we've had to put down as tourists is absurd as well, because people don't want to, like, for instance, when we moved here and we rented a place in Ayuntamiento right off the plaza, we had to put down 6 months deposit. Like, who has? And we happened, like, when we knew we were gonna move, I started like stashing money away. I was like, we're gonna have to do this. Thank God I did that. But like 6 months deposit is not affordable for the majority of people. And so you look at that and you're like, we are the exception to the rule. How is any local going to be able to navigate that system when the salary cap is way lower here? You're just like, it's not fair, and it's not like our fault. It's like, why are the landlords doing that when they know? You know, you still have to claim your money and pay taxes on it. What are you doing? I don't have the solution. I'm just presenting the problem.
It's just a big problem right now that the city is starting to see, because for a brief period of time, it was very easy to turn your place into a rental place. So a lot of people jumped on that opportunity. In my parents' street, it's a short street, and there's like, I'm not exaggerating, there's 9 rental apartments in one street. So how am I going to be able to afford a place when just the rent, not talking about the usual expenses that a flat takes, just rent, it's more than half of my salary.
Yeah, exactly. Girl, I hear you. And I don't have all the solutions, because it's definitely like a policy. I have ideas, and I think Valencia has cracked down on certain things, because there's a lot of illegal rental units. And I think it's really unfortunate as well, because like for me, when I travel, I loved renting apartments when certain entities became available, because you were living in someone's house, you were immersed in the community, you got to really learn the neighborhood. And then having a kid, I like having an apartment, because then I can cook. I'm not forced to go out all the time, but then you can like meet people in the neighborhood. And now in certain areas, like what you're saying, especially like El Carmen and Musafa in particular, in the city anyway, it's like everybody's from somewhere else. And in a way that's beautiful, because there's so many people who appreciate everything Valencia has to offer. And in another way, you're like, but I want you to like yell at me in Valenciano, so that so I can really feel like I've made it.
You want the grandma next door to come to you and say, "Need anything, darling?"
Exactly. ¿Dónde está tu perro?
¿Estás bien, bonita? That's what
Actually,
grandma would say. To
your point, there's this woman I always see, and I don't know her name, but her dog always barks at my dog. And just to kind of show you like how to go back to like how open Valencianos are, she came up to me specifically because her dog got hit by a car, and she wanted to tell me, because she usually walks him around the same time I have my dog, and he always barks at Dio. It was just this moment where she's like an older lady, and that was her companion, su pareja, and now she doesn't have it. So it was just like that little moment of like, oh, I'm like part of this little community of Campanar. Like the abuela knows me and my dog, and came up to tell me that her dog passed away, like, which is really sad. And I'm like, my heart breaks for her. But equally, it was, for me, I was like, oh, like she appreciates that she sees me and we chat periodically. Like that's a really lovely thing. Anyway, back to you. So, and we know this is a problem. Our expat presence has turned into a problem. But in what ways has this tourism helped the city, in your opinion?
It definitely brings a lot of income to the city. A lot of the things that we're talking about, like the infrastructure things, most of them are being built thanks to the money that tourism brings. So it is a good thing for the city. The problem is when tourism goes unchecked and is not balanced with the city life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For example, my favorite festivity of the world, which is Fallas, turns the street into drunken places just because people are foreign, they want to party. I'm saying you don't have to party. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to know how to party in the way to be respectful to the city.
That's a really good point.
Just go around and barfing around because you're drunk and littering and breaking things and putting things on fire just because it's Fallas. I'm sorry, but you have to be respectful to where you are.
Let's get into Fallas. I'm going to come back to another question later, but let's get into Fallas since you brought it up. Why is this festival so important to Valencians?
Because it is so much part of our own culture. It's something that we've been celebrating since the 17th, 18th century, and some of the clothing that we wear are from that type of era. And it is our celebration of part of our identity as Valencians. We like to rebuild like something breaks us down, or
Mm.
something all, it has to be cleared up so to make space for the new. That's
Oh,
what
I love
fallas are
that.
about.
Oh
Fallas
my
are about,
God.
yes, you have been building up something, but it comes to a point that it's turned old, that you don't have a space for that anymore. So you burn it and and come out of the ashes like a phoenix.
That I love that so much. That's really poignant. See, I fell in love with this festival like 4 years ago. 4 years ago when we came for the first time, and I just geek out over it so much. And I love that metaphor because so spring is like a time of rebirth. If you look at like just as a comparison, like the Chinese like calendar starts in February, closer to spring then, and it's like that rebirth. But I love that you're saying that like when you have no use for something or something becomes you've outgrown it, you have to like burn it down. First of all, that feels like my life right now. But second of all, that is like such a beautiful, it's just a beautiful metaphor and way to think
Yeah.
about it.
Because the way that the monuments that we call fallas right now, which is the thing that around the fallas are centered, the monuments started with people needed to make space in their houses with things that they have used over the winter. They don't have space for that anymore. For spring, you need new space. You have used up all of the lumber, old blankets, whatever, so you just throw it all together, you burn it on the street, and then you have space for spring to come. And then people started to make faces to it, started to turn it into caricatures of people that they know, and making comments about people. And that's how it all grew up from like something like very neighborhoody and has turned into this big, massive thing.
So what is your connection to Las Fallas?
So I've been fallera since I was 5. Those were my first fallas.
Celia at 5. Oh my God.
So yeah, my sister was 2.5 for her first
Wow.
fallas. Yeah, she was like tiny. So I've been fallera since then, and I've been fallera of my current falla since I was 7. So it's my neighborhood. It's the people, my town. You know, like there's a saying that goes like it takes a town to raise a person.
Yeah.
This collective is my town. It's the people that I would go. I have my best friends there. I had the worst fights with my friends were there. Like I've gotten drunk so many more times that I can count there. I was given my first drink from the mom of one of my friends at the falla. So it is a lot of moments in your life that are attached to that group of people. The thing you have in common is your love for this festivity.
It's
How
such a
much
beautiful
care you
festivity.
go and you put into it and you put in work. Because you pay a fee to be a fallero. And everything you want to do there, it's free. Like you're not being paid for working for the falla unless you're hired. When you're hired, then you're getting paid. But like a normal fallero, like me, I have been part of different groups of organizing people since I was 14. So it's been a bit of time.
So and you're volunteering that time, right?
I volunteer.
You're pay.
Yes, exactly. You're volunteering that time because you want to make good memories. You want to have good experience. You want the people around you to have good experiences with that. So that's for me, that's
Amazing.
what fallas mean.
And so I mean, I know the terminology, but can you tell us what Las Fallas and Falleras and like give us a little definition of each in English?
Okay, so Valencians, we love to have the same word with different things. We name fallas to several things. Fallas is the whole festivity, the whole festivity.
Yes.
Also, a falla is the group of people that gathers, and the fallas are the thing that you put on the street, the artsy things. So it is a bit confusing, but more or less. Then you have a casal fallero, which is the place where people gather to like the actual space. And then you have falleros and falleras. Falleros are the males, falleras are the females. And something I find it very interesting about fallas is that you turn into like an adult, quotation marks, at age 14. Because the activities that are being done there's a group of people that are preparing activities for the children to take part in them and so they can create their own community. They think that by the time you're 14, you're more or less like outgrown most of those things. So you're ready almost to take part with like the older people do.
So then you like ascend. And the other thing to know about too is the Fallera Mayor. She's like the mistress of ceremonies. So like she gets voted in by, you have to like nominate.
Yes.
How does that work? Is she nominated by their falla and then they're like
Okay, so this
judged or
is kind of
something?
like a tricky thing because each Falla has their own way of doing it.
Okay.
Places,
Of course.
you put yourself forward and people
Okay.
vote and they choose which one they want. But in my fire, we don't do it like that because we think that creates a lot more issues than it solves. Because then
Okay.
it creates like a lot of like internal drama, which nobody has time for that. So for us, if you have been in the fire the longest, then you have priority over other people.
Okay.
So it's a very fair way. Everybody knows it. You just have to be, and then what happens is you turn the year before fallas. Like if your birthday is before fallas, then you are gone up 1 year before your friends. For example,
Okay.
I am a February child and fallas are in March, so I would go up to be an adult before my friends. My friends had to wait a year to become that.
Okay.
So I had priority over my friend who is born in April. I had priority over her because I had been a fallera as an adult
Mayor.
fallera for longer.
Gotcha. So
It just takes a
confusing.
lot of drama out of the situation. If everybody knows what to expect.
Right. Oh my goodness. What should tourists and those expats who reside here know about this tradition? What should we be doing? What's our part?
You should be, number one, appreciating the artwork that we put in the street. Because especially during the week of fallas, the artists have been working on those things for a lot of months and they're putting a lot of effort into them. So I think like every fallero and every person who comes through the city, they should try and like take a look because every single neighborhood has a falla in it.
Multiple, depending on the
Yeah,
street
usually you
you live on.
have a big one and a small one for the adults and one for the children. So at least you have two. I'm sure like if you go down the street, you're gonna turn around and you're gonna have 2 or 3 fires around. That is reality. And also I think you have to be respectful of the neighbors. You wanna have fun, you wanna party, you want to go and see, you wanna enjoy yourself, that's fabulous. But just remember that there's people living there that they may not appreciate you being that noisy or making a mess or just you trying to get into a house just because the door is open and you want to go and see upstairs because that has happened a few times. You want to go up to the attic part so you can see from the top of the building. To kind of like see what's around. That's what neighbors are usually not very appreciative.
Don't break and enter. Sounds like a pretty standard practice. Well, yeah. The audacity of some people, I'm like, I'm such a good human being. And then other times I'm like, I have a lot of audacity too. Anyway.
Other thing that I think people should appreciate is one of our traditions is about dancing. Traditional dances. Like this picture I have over here. Usually beginning around October until 2 weeks before fallas, there is gonna be every weekend a showing of traditional dances. Usually like very close to the Serrano Towers. It tends to be like a quite closer local center. I would ask people to go and just have a seat. Take like 5 minutes to see what it is because people work very hard on keeping these traditions alive. And sometimes because they're not as showy as other things, they go under.
Okay. That's good to know. I accidentally passed one a couple weeks ago and I was like, stop, we have to watch, I'm curious, where do you create the physical, like all the nanos? Where do you put all the little pieces together and create the actual file, like over the course of the year? Who does that and where?
We hire people to do it. These people are artistas falleros, that's what we call them. So they're like fallero artists.
Specific to this festival,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Specific to this festival. Not only to this festival, but also there's a similar festivity in Castellón during the summer. So, and in Alicante as well. All 3 communities of the Valencian community, they have something similar that goes on.
Okay.
So they are working through the year and then sometimes they do work on like theater productions and like preparing settings for cinema. So it's an ongoing thing. It's not they don't just live on that because we do pay a lot of money for them, but
oh my God, they're incredible too.
Wood and styrofoam, which are the bases, are getting more expensive by the time. So it is becoming a bit of a challenge. And there's a lot of artists that have to close up their own ateliers because they usually have an atelier to work in. They have to close the spaces because they cannot afford the rent of these places because of the pricing high. So they have to share space with somebody else to continue working on what they love.
And where do you like store the pieces over the course of
At
the
their
year?
at their own
At
talleres.
their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At their own places. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
their own
Gotcha.
place. Usually they have these big spaces. It's usually bigger for the older one, for like the adults. The smaller ones, they tend to be at most about 4 meters, 3 meters high, about 4 meters wide. So they're not that big. You can keep it in a smaller space. But when you're talking about the big ones that are like 3-4 stories high,
Yeah.
those are the ones you need space. But
Yeah.
usually they build like a puzzle. So you are not building it all at once. You're not bringing it all at once. They have like wooden pieces that like click in place, and then they kind of like work around it to cover those seams.
Yeah. The design and the engineering behind it, I'm always like just so
Yeah,
enamored
it's a
by.
mix of art, engineering, defying gravity situations. So a lot of artists, they do have some sort of background in fine arts and engineering of sorts. And some of them are builders. Recently, I would say just before pandemic, there was a group of artistas falleros that have designed coursework, like a postgraduate, for
What?
become a fallero artist.
Damn.
They kind of like teaches you, and different artists teach you their techniques on how to build big structures and they need to be able to support the wind, especially windy city like Valencia lately. The rain, because March in Valencia tends to rain a lot.
Yeah, great.
Yep. So you need to be able to build it in a way that is going to last the time. It's going to take in the sun, the heat, the rain, and the air. All of those ones, you need to make sure like what you're putting forward is going to stay nicely. Because there's going to be a prize later on, and everyone likes to win.
Exactly. And that prize is what? Money, usually, right? Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Yes, there is.
It's partly for the falla and then partly for the artist.
Now, does the falla tell the artist what they want, or does the artist bring the idea to the falla, or is it like a combination? Like
There's a
what to
combination
construct?
of both.
Okay.
Each falla kind of decides. Usually you have like a committee that is the one who's in charge of talking to the artists. Sometimes, for example, in our case, for both the little and the big one, we understand that artists are very temperamental people and they come with their own ideas. So we allow them to give them their own spin on things. But there's other fallas who ask different artists, hey, what are you going to put forward? And then I can choose and decide which one of these projects I like and which one I would hire. It's about how a falla and the group of falleros understand the significance of the falla itself. Because unfortunately, there's some groups of falleros that they're not finding it as important to have like a good monument on the street, like a good falla on the street, and they prefer to spend that money on booze and party. So they kind of like don't really pay that much attention to the cultural significance of the falla itself, which I find it sad,
Gotcha.
but to each their own. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what
Unfortunately.
all the are for. Everybody likes something different.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit more about the role of a fallera and what that means. Exactly.
Do you mean a normal fallera or a fallera mayor?
Both.
Okay, so
So
a normal
start with like fallera. Yeah, normal
A
fallera.
normal fallera is just a person who just takes part in the party, in the celebration, just like a normal fallero. Then the fallera mayor, it's a representative of your falla, of your group of people towards other parts of Valencia. You have a community which is your neighborhood, like my group of people where like there's 13 fallas that are close together, and those 13 we kind of like do activities together, especially the falleras mayores. You get in contact with them and you're doing activities together, you meet up, and then you have out of all of the communities, out of all of the neighborhoods, there is one chosen to be the representative of all of the city towards the rest of like Spain and Valencia and the world. And kind of like big representative is a massive, massive honor for me. I think it is something that not every person is ready for, because it literally means stopping your life. You're not the priority, your city and your festivity is the priority in your life. So you get the fallera, and then you have the court. So there's 12 other women who are chosen to go along with the fallera mayor to accompany her, so she feels more welcomed everywhere. You have
Aww.
older one and children as well. It's usually for
Yeah.
girls between the ages of 9 and 11 are usually when they tend to be falleras.
You're so sweet. I love it. Is this something that a lot of young Valencian girls aspire to?
If you grow up in a falla, you tend to. For example, I did not have a chance because I joined the falla later on. By the time I was 9, 11, 10, I had a list of all the girls who were before me because they had been in the falla longer than I was. But my sister did have an opportunity and she decided that that was not for her, that she was not willing to put that time forward and to make the sacrifices a bit that it takes to become a fallera. Then I did become fallera mayor of my falla the year of the pandemic. My fallas were the 2021 March. Those were mine.
Woo! How exciting, right? Mask and dress, right?
It was also the rainiest it had ever been in a long time in Valencia.
Just really setting the mood, right?
But I wouldn't
That
change
you
it.
meant.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
change it for one bit. It was such an amazing experience to be the representative of my falla and to have such a great community behind me that it
Yeah.
kind of like humbles you.
I can imagine that. It sounds really cool too to like have people believe in you in that capacity, like to represent all the things that you stand for and be like a pillar in the community. That's really super cool. So you've already mentioned that throughout the year there are events like dancing. Are there any other things that happen
We,
besides dancing?
in the falla, there's also usually like a big, a bit amateur theater group. It's amateur theater in Valenciano. It's a massive thing in Valencia.
In Valenciano?
Yes, in Valenciano. For
What?
I think it's like 3 months, you can go and see for free, a new play that either is completely new or like it has been already done, but like a reversion of it
Yeah.
for free for like 4 nights a week. And each
Wow.
night is only one. And there's like a competition from children onto adults, and there's like different categories. I've done it for a long time, and I tell you,
That's
the
so
amount
cool.
of work that is put forward in these productions, completely amateur, you're not getting paid, you're putting your time forward for something just because you believe in it. Also, for there's a lot of like arts related contests for drawing and speaking poems. Or there's also a contest about fallas knowledge. There's a prize for that. There's traditional games. Pilota Valenciana is one of the traditional games that is played, and there's competition of that. There's a different sport.
So what was that game and how do we play it?
So the game is called Pilota Valenciana. So basically, it's a game where you have two teams of people and you have a net, a bit like tennis.
Okay.
But instead of having a racket, you hit it with your hand. It's like, there's a lot of like rules to this. I have never played myself. I've only seen them play a couple of times. But there's the place that they play this game is called Trinquete. If you are interested in going to the Trinquete de Pelayo, near the center,
Okay.
they kind of like have regular games going on, and you can just go.
Cool.
Yeah, you can go and see a game. It's highly interesting. It's nothing like I've seen before. It's a mixture between tennis and baseball, and because you have to throw the ball and you have to hit it with your hand, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of things. And it's a sport that was just Valencian. Nobody else has it.
Place.
There's a similar thing, I think, with Aztec culture, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Similar game.
Look
But-
at that. Totally different consonants and
Yeah.
bringing things together.
Yeah.
Are there any like responsibilities throughout the year of each falla that they have to do like group wise? Like, so you might not be fallera mayor of your falla, but just being part of the falla, what are your responsibilities?
You don't have responsibilities per se, apart just
Okay.
like taking part on the activities that people put forward.
Gotcha.
Because usually people that you know.
Yeah.
You can choose to do more or less. You can even choose to dress up or not. It's not compulsory. Just because you're a fallero, you don't have to dress up and put on these clothes and go parade in the street. You can just be fallero and just enjoy the party, and from a quiet, calm standpoint, you don't have to be in the middle of it. Because I know that some people have their personalities. They prefer to have a bit of a space outwards. And you're not shunned because of that. It's just a different approach to the festival.
How has the festival changed over the years?
Well, since 2017 that we became cultural heritage of the world, it has definitely boomed bigger. It has been shown a lot more. But I do remember the time when the only fallas that you would see would be your neighborhood, and you would see the people from your neighborhood coming. I remember not having very foreign people coming and seeing. My cousins, they are from London, so they would come every once in a while, and everybody would know them in my falla because they were the only English-speaking people there.
Now we're everywhere. Well, I'm not English, but British that is.
But English-speaking people,
yeah.
you know. However, now we have a Dutch person in our falla. We have a guy from Australia who came here.
So can anybody join a falla?
Yes. Yes.
I could join a falla?
Of course you can. Yeah.
I did not know this. I have like 3 with it. There's a big one right here in Campanar, and then there's like 2 more within walking distance of me.
I would personally try to avoid the biggest ones, because they tend to be more expensive. Because you pay a monthly fee to the falla.
Why? I don't want to pay. I just want to join.
You're paying a monthly fee because with that money, usually all of the activities during the falla are being...
yeah, it goes towards what, like food,
everything.
Beverages, party.
Food, beverages, party, the monument of the falla, the renting of the space, a lot of things.
I'm just being dramatic because I can be.
I know.
And I think it's good that you also pointed out, going back to this, respecting the festival, because they do close down the streets in the city, and it's very much a walking path. The one thing I want to share too is that anybody who comes to the festival, if you go to like the Ayuntamiento website, they have like the app, and it shows you where all the different structures are throughout the city, and they're like close. Last check, I think there's 380 falla groups, más o menos, and that each falla.
The number one is the oldest. The number you get is by how soon did you sign up for the falla. So the first falla number 1, I think it's close to like 150 years old.
Wow.
My falla is one of the younger ones. My falla is number 300 in the list, and we're turning 47 this year.
Nice. The one near me is from 1984 now, I think.
I don't know
like
about
47
timing.
years.
But if you look the name of the falla in the Junta Central Fallera, which is our big community structure.
The governing board.
Governing board, yeah, that would be. If you type in the name of the falla, then they can tell you what's the number.
That is so crazy. I did not realize that's how associated. All these things that I'm learning about this festival that I have researched for hours and hours and hours on end. Some of this stuff is not on Google, okay? This is not on Google.
No.
And I will say that from witnessing this celebration for 4 years running, a lot of the people who are jerks are the tourists. So mind your manners, people. Don't ruin it for everybody else. And this year is going to be huge because that is the 10-year anniversary of their UNESCO heritage sort of label or entity. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't figure that out. But yeah, so there's actually like extra money allotted to the celebration because it's the 10 years. So it's going to be big.
Yes, it is going to be big. Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Please, if you come to see us, don't forget the local fallas. Because yes, going to the Ayuntamiento and going to the biggest ones, it is amazing. Those are the especial. So you pay a different amount of money, gets you different category. So the more you pay for your falla, the higher rank you are. And then you're competing amongst the people in your rank. So it is a bit fair. A bit more fair. So the other ones are the most freaking expensive ones. Those are the people go to see. But maybe your neighborhood has a beautiful falla.
Yeah, mine does.
And it's not as expensive. It's not as shown.
The other thing we need to talk about is when they burn them. So we talked about how like there's like the falla, the group, the structure, right? So of the structure, there's these little, the figures are called ninos. Am I saying that correctly?
Almost. It has a T in it. Ninot.
Ninot. Okay, well, I always feel like it's silent, but obviously I don't speak Valenciano.
In Valencia, T's are never silent.
So sad. That makes sense. Such a top vela. Anyway, okay, so ninot. And one is spared per each year, right? Like the main fire, the normal fire, and the infantal.
Yeah,
So,
so there's two things that happen there. Number one would be the ones that are put forward. Every fire puts forward one ninot to showcase in a like a sort of competition, and people, tourists go and see it, and then they vote. And the one who's more voted, the most voted, that one would be saved from the fire anyway, and they will be put in a special museum with all of the ninots. We call them ninot indultat. So it's like saved from the fire. And then each falla, the fallera mayor, would get a ninot to save from the fire. So they can. This is a ninot.
so
The
what was
theme of the
that?
falla, the theme of the falla was about marrying sea and land, and I chose a raindrop, which was very fitting for a rainy year.
Well, how poetic too, because like that's so cyclical.
Yeah,
Like the raindrop goes through like this whole process to go from like land to sea, and oh,
exactly.
how cool. I
I
love
find it
that.
very, very cute. And if you look over here, you see here like a little, like a wooden part. This
Yeah.
is where it was attached to the fire. So it
Okay.
is all attached together like a puzzle. And I have him.
And
I keep it
that's
in my
so
home.
and that doesn't even do like justice of like how grand the structure
Oh, no,
was.
no,
Like this
this
is
was
one
the
little
tiny,
piece. Yeah,
this was the
one little piece.
tiniest one
Wow.
ever. Because I said I don't have that much space at home to keep like a
Something
piece of
big,
my
yeah.
fire. But it is a good memory sake.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so cool. Yeah, I wanted to point that out too, like how we save some because there's the what is it, Museo Fallero
Hmm.
that houses all of the nanots
Hmm.
that have been spared. I'm not even gonna try to speak Valenciano. Okay, we know
Yeah.
I can't. We know I can't. Okay, I can barely speak Spanish. Hell, I can barely speak English most days.
We understand each other. I think that's the important
Exactly.
part.
Somehow it comes out properly. And I think it's so important to highlight that museum too. And I don't think it's expensive to go in there, but you can see how detailed these are and then what is saved. Like, because there's the idea that, oh, the falla is spared. No, no, no. It's just one little piece of the falla that is spared. That's what I wanted to ask. Does how much you spend, because the, so it's the tourists, first of all, it's the tourists that vote to save it or just like the community as a whole?
When you pay well, are you talking about the contest that we're doing? The contest about the ninots or about each individual fire?
The contest of the nanos.
The contest of the ninots, each fire puts their own piece, and then when you buy your ticket, that's how they can make money to get things moving around the city.
Okay.
And then each falla, with the money that each fallero pays with their fee, they choose to take a part and then spend that money on the monument itself.
So many different pieces of this puzzle.
It's like a tapestry. I like to call it a tapestry. I think
Yeah,
fallas is, you can see it's very showy, like the main part, the middle picture of it. But it's the whole tapestry. It's like everything that comes together. That special week cannot happen without all of the supporting
Yes.
parts.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to point out too. And let me tell you who I admired the most after all this is the maintenance crews and the cleanup crews because damn do they have a job and they are very efficient. I have to give them credit to the Valencian city workers. They get that shit done. Cleaning up all the messes, tearing down all the barricades. I don't know how they do it. It's like it never happened. It's insane to me. Very efficient.
And the funniest thing is like the night of we burn the fallas with the crema on the 19th. When you wake up the next morning on the 20th, you cannot see that nothing. It's like as if nothing ever happened. That the whole city on the 20th gets back on its feet
Oh yeah.
so fast.
Yep.
Because
It's crazy to me.
Valencia is cut. Usually it's like from the weekend before fallas happen. That's usually when we start putting up things in the middle. Because there are not that many groups of people that can do it. And it takes a lot more effort to build it than to just like put it down.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they're all burned. Just literally cleaning up the ashes. Is there anything we didn't know we needed to know or anything that we missed about growing up in Valencia or Las Fallas?
To say something about the dress department. The
Yes.
traditional dresses and headgear. It takes a lot of effort, and usually a lot of people have it handmade. They're not made by a machine most of the time. So I think it is very important that we appreciate all of the artistry that goes into. Maybe they have a sewing machine, but they don't. You don't have like a big bulk factory
Yes.
like blowing this up one after the other. And there's usually you have different fabrics, and each fabric has a different level of silk. So there's the more silk you have, the more expensive they are. But usually the most the more shinier they tend to be.
Okay.
Catch your eye a lot more. And there's a lot of work and effort that goes into all of the different parts of the fallero and fallera dress. And it's a lot of fun to dress up as fallera.
I mean, it is. These dresses are stunning.
You feel like a princess. You get to wear heels, you wear a hoop skirt, and you wear a lot of jewelry. It's every little girl's dream.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about the dress selection process? Because I think that's pretty incredible.
About the crafting of the process?
Yeah. Like, how does that work?
So it is, there's two styles of traditional dresses for the fancier one. Then you have like this one that we are using to dance that is a lot more comfortable, it's a lot less fabric to work with, it's a lot less cheap. It's a lot cheaper than the fancy ones. The fancy ones, there's usually like a lot of work because it usually involves like a undershirt with like ruffles here around the collar.
Yeah.
Then you have the bodice that has a lot of work into it, a lot of fabric going on, laces everywhere. You got
laces everywhere.
Big hoop skirt. And you have like 2 or 3 layers of fabric going on top. I personally like to wear some pantaloons underneath because my legs tend to chafe because it is not breathable down there. It's so much fabric, it's not breathable. But some girls, they choose only to wear like long stockings, which is also traditional then. So you can adapt it a lot to your personality and your fashion sense. Yes, you have some rigid structure that a traditional dress should look like, but also you have a lot of freedom and expressing yourself. You have all of the colors of the rainbow are allowed.
They're so beautiful.
All of the colors, all of the metallics that you want are allowed. There's nothing off limits. As long as you know where you come from and you respect tradition. You're respectful to it, go for it. You want to wear a neon green dress, go for it. There's nothing against that. There are no rules against that. Just as long as you don't treat it like a costume. It's traditional attire. And I think this conversation has been going on with different, I'm not going to compare it, but with different minorities. They see their traditional attires being used as costumes for carnivals. We don't want, when you're referring to traditional dress wear, please, I imply all of the listeners, please don't call it a costume.
Yeah.
Because that is being disrespectful to the traditional behind it. I'm not just talking about ours, I'm talking about any kind of cultural significant traditional dressing.
That's a good point. Also, when you see these things firsthand, like in person, like they're absolutely, you can just see the craftsmanship. They're absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could be a fallera. Now I've got some thinking to do. Oh, there's one other thing I was going to ask you because you are a teacher and educator. And you've gone through the Valencian school system. So how has education changed with the influx of expats and immigrants to the city?
Well, I finished school before the big influence of expats came through, but I am currently working in a world of bilingual school with English. So that's basically my daily bread involves working with some sort of expats at different capacities, but right now in my class of 20, I have about 5 families who are not, like either one of, no, 5 families who are fully, both of them are expats, and 4 more families that are, one of the parents is an expat. So it is being more introduced into the culture.
So we're seeing bilinguals influencing with it?
There's a lot more bilingual students coming in, at least into the sector that I'm in.
And that wasn't popular when you were younger? No?
No,
Makes sense.
Only posh children would go to these kind of schools if they were not foreign. You would not have that many mixed families. And I think that's something that we're loving to see.
That's so crazy.
A kid age 2 can fully understand both of their parents when they talk to them in whichever language they speak.
That's so cool. I'm so jealous. Like, I wish I had that as a kid.
Me too.
But your English is amazing.
But I'm not. Yes, but I did not grow up with English as easily accessible. I did work my ass off to be able to where I am right now. I did go to extra classes since I was 5 to support my English until I was 18. So all throughout my school years, I have been going to an English academy twice a week to put in the work and put in the effort.
I guess I better work harder on my Spanish.
It's also, I was a kid, so my brain was better designed for it. I'm sure your kid will be a lot better at Spanish just because he's growing up having
His
it that accessible.
accent when he speaks it, because he refuses to. Turkey, un grande pavo. His accent is so good. I'm like, oh my god, like you're so cool. I love it so much.
Love when people have an accent
Me
because
too.
it talks about where they're from. If we
I
all,
love it. Me too.
we all have the same accent, that doesn't pinpoint anything.
Yeah.
I love it, for example, when like artists, like big artists like Antonio Banderas, he still refuses to leave his accent. His accent is part of his identity.
You know what? I actually watched this like interview clip of Sofia Vergara, and she said that she tried to reduce her accent. I think that, again, this is just my opinion, and I know I have an accent to you, but and to other people, obviously. But I just think it, like you're saying, it's just such a statement of who you are, where you came from. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to hear people's voices. You know, I've met people and could like kind of gauge, oh, what part of like Northern England are you from? Or you're from Spain, but you know, you're definitely not from like, you know, Cadiz or Madrid, because I can tell by your accent, you know, like you're, and I think that
As
is
long as
so
we're able
cool.
to understand each other, like
Yeah.
your level of whichever language is high enough that you're able to understand each other, your accent should not be an issue. Your accent should be something that you're proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. 100%. All right, is there anything we're missing? Did we cover? Did we do a good job? I
We've
think.
covered pretty much everything. I love to see my city through other people's eyes. I think that that turns my experience into something so rich that it's just like we forget about what we have next door just because it's so easily attachable. You see people going further than, I don't know, like they take planes to go several hours away when you have
Yeah.
amazing places and amazing cultures nearby.
Yeah.
Just
I
waiting for
mean,
you to go and discover them. Just if you take your car and you drive half an hour, then you're
there's
gonna
so
be
much.
seeing those things. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much beauty here, to be fair, and I don't really want other people to know about it because I don't want it to get more crowded. Another thing that I go like crazy for is La Huerta, just like knowing how long it's, you know, this infrastructure, like the irrigation system that's been here like for 1,000 years. Like there's so many
More than 1,000 years.
more. Yeah.
Irrigation system was brought up by the Romans at the beginning.
Okay, so there you go. And it's like been maintained, and you just walk through these fields now. You're just like, oh my god, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And like the water tribunal, again, different topic, different day. But like, I just think there's so many beautiful gifts here that I just geek out over.
I geek about the Albufera. To me,
Yeah.
that is the treasure, the untapped treasure of the city.
Yeah.
And I love that it's not that easily accessible. It's not that you cannot just take a metro and get there. You need to take like a couple of buses or like take a car to get there because that's what's keeping it from becoming too overcrowded.
Yeah, they should keep it that way. Good. I
So
hope
it
they
is an
do.
amazing place if you have a chance to go and see it, but be aware that it is a natural reserve that needs to be protected.
I think you make an excellent point. Excellent point. All right. I'm the mom who knows not. My name is Brianna. This has been my fallera favorita, Celia. Thank you so much for sharing your history and your insight about Valencia and Las Fallas, my festival favorito. And until next time, I hope you're having fun learning everything you didn't know you needed to know.
All right.